Hey guys, welcome to my updated video for my 0.3 Warbringer build. I've made a ton of changes since the last video and I'm really excited to share with you guys how much damage and durability I've been able to put into the build since then. Before we get started, if this video is helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. Since I'm a new channel, it really helps me out, and I hope to see you guys also in the comments if you guys have been able to try out this build. So with that, let me get started with the character sheet. So I've hit level 94 and I have 4000 HP exactly. This is about 30% more HP from the last video, which significantly improves the overall durability. But not only that, I've also been working on improving armor as well. So I've also been investing in not only armor, but having armor applied to elemental damage. This is really good at helping reduce all of that minor chip damage and all of that, like those extra fire or extra cold damage lines we're getting on wastestones now. So even if there's more than one on a map, this build is actually pretty decent at running those. Not to say that big hits still don't hurt a lot. That's something you still really have to watch out for. But I feel like armor investment has been kind of working out for me. Hopefully I can showcase that in the mapping section at the end of the video. So I also have 75% block and 155 spirit. So the extra 50 spirit on top is really critical for the two support skills, which is cannibalism and vitality. Both of those are really important for durability, and I'll go over that when I go over the skill gem section, but it's pretty critical that you do have that 50 spirit. Whether or not you get it on your chest piece or your amulet is kind of up to you. Other than that, I do have 200 life recovery per second. This helps eat a lot of those health costs since I am running blood magic and I don't have a mana bar. Having life regeneration just kind of keeps you topped off, as well as heals you from all the minor chip damage that you do take from smaller enemies. For the other stats, there isn't really anything super relevant here, so just skip over it, but I do have 400 strength and just enough dexterity and intelligence for the support gems, if not a little bit over right now, just so I can mess around with it a little later. Also, it's kind of nice to have exactly 4000 HP. For the support gems and skills, I'm running Encased in Jade, so this comes from the Ascendancy tree, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, but essentially you get this massive guard. So from 4000 HP, I have a 2400 guard, which is essentially over health, and it's going to be 70% of your total life. So this is really nice for just being able to top off your health completely before jumping into a fight. Next one is Leap Slam. So Leap Slam and Infernal Cry and Forge Hammer are kind of like the bread and butter for overall like map clearing. So the general rotation is you Leap Slam, you can Infernal Cry, you can throw the Forge Hammer and Infernal Cry again. So I'm running basically 2 damage support gems here, Fire Attunement and Elemental Ornament, but then I'm running Holy Descent, Magnified Area, and Rapid Attacks for the Leap Slam. The Consecrated Ground is really important. You can see it goes from 200 to about 451 life recovery per second. So it's adding basically over doubling my life regeneration per second. So from a support gem, that's really good, as well as basically having all curses that you take. So if you have Temporal Chains, Enfeeble, or the one that reduces your elemental resistances, this halves all of it, and it's really critical for like staying alive in general. Otherwise, extra AoE and extra speed is just kind of quality of life. You can kind of add these in or with other supports if you don't feel like you kind of need these. Infernal Cry, I use Tireless just for more empowered attacks, and the other ones are not super relevant. Fire Mastery is just more damage, and Mobility just essentially it slows me down a little bit less when I'm running around and just Infernal Crying. Forge Hammer is the new skill from this, basically from this patch, this new league. So I've been running it a lot. The most important support here is going to be Branching Fissures. So without Branching Fissures, if I take this off, when I pop this, it's going to do a normal spiral. So you can see that it has you know, a 5 spiral here. With branching fissures, each spiral can branch twice. So you can see here, it's going to basically branch 15 times, because each 5 is going to have 2 additional branches. So you can see that they're coming off of the branches here. And this just massively increases the AoE and the overall the amount of branches that go off. So yeah, this just creates an insane amount of fissures, so that's really critical. Otherwise, I'm just adding damage on top here, so fire attunement and elemental ornament. Cooldown recovery is pretty core here, otherwise the cooldown's 8 seconds base. This kind of brings it closer down to 5. And attack speed is really nice because of how long the windup is without it. So it's just kind of like quality of life, where without it you can kind of get like soft stunt out of it. So you can kind of see the difference here is that you can kind of just like whip it out a lot faster. For bossing, it's still rolling slam for increasing the stun threshold and basically getting to a stun break on the boss for that heavy stun. So I'm taking stun 3 as well as brink 2 just for stun buildup, and rapid attacks for additional attack speed, and aftershocks for basically that additional aftershock. And if it does aftershock, that's just adding more stun basically to the boss. Hammer of the Gods, I am using ignite damage and basically scaling ignite magnitude to do more damage to the boss. So all of these are just going to increase fire damage as well as ignite damage. So I think I'm going to remove ignite 3 since I don't think it's really relevant that it does the damage faster. So I'm going to add basically fire attunement as well as concentrative effect instead of ignite 3 when I add a perfect socket to this. And that'll pretty much probably almost like add 50% more damage to the skill. So that will be really significant just for overall bossing. For the other Warcries, I'm using Ancestral Cry. This is going to basically massively buff all of your skills to be basically, I think it's called ancestrally boosted. So it's just going to increase the AoE and damage of everything. So I just kind of pop this when I'm in the middle of a bunch of enemies and kind of just use it whenever, just for additional clear speed. The support gems don't really matter too much here. Prolonged duration is probably the only nice one to have, just so the buff lasts a little bit longer so you can get some more skills off, but the other ones don't really matter too much. Same thing with Seismic Cry. Seismic Cry is just used to get an additional aftershock when you heavy break or heavy stun a boss. So the other ones here don't really matter too much. Tireless is nice because sometimes you will get an extra empowered attack with an extra aftershock, but the rest don't really matter at all. For the 2 spirits, I am using Scavenge Plating, so this is going to give me extra armor just throughout mapping, and Vitality 2 gives me additional 2% maximum life regeneration. So this is what I was talking about that was so critical. So you can see without it it's 104, and with it it's 203. So essentially it's doubling my passive life regen. And Cannibalism 2 is really good for basically recuperating a lot of life in the middle of a fight where you get a large explosion and you get a large burst of life to counteract a lot of burst damage. The last one is Herald of Ash. This one's just for general clearing. Fire Mastery, Magnified Area, Prolonged Duration, and Deadly Herald. You know, at the end of the day, this is kind of whatever. I think it's just kind of like additional overkill on top, so I don't think the support gems here really matter too much, honestly. Next, going over the passive tree, the ascendancies are the same as my last video, where I'm taking Warcaller's Bellow. So I'm not using totems at all in this build. I'm using Warcries to kind of clear the map, and taking Turtle Charm and Renly's Training are critical for getting that 75% block. And like I mentioned, Encased Jade is really good. Like that 2400 HP before a fight will save you, and it's really good in a really like high death like environment where they're just doing so much damage, and this is like pretty critical for just staying alive. It kind of gives you like a oh shit button too when you start taking a lot of damage. So it's just important to know that you can't use it in the middle of a leap slam like you can use with Olros Flask. So you do need to use it while you're on the ground. So you do kind of need to like more preemptively use it than to use it like when you're kind of getting like gunned down really quickly. Because if you're also stunned, you cannot use it. Otherwise, moving on to the actual passives, since this build focuses around taking Avatar of Fire, or all damage is converted to fire, you can see that the core nodes I'm taking is fire supports. So basically Burn Away, Burning Strikes, Immolation are all fire related, as well as Fulmination here. Otherwise, I'm basically taking as many block nodes as I can in order to hit that 75% block. So you can see I'm taking like 2 of them down here. I'm taking Lay Siege for my Anointment just for 75% increased damage, and investing pretty heavily into a lot of armor, as you can see here. Blood Rush here is just for getting skills out more quickly. Unbending and Behemoth here are good for increasing maximum life. I'm debating whether or not to keep Titanic. So the stun buildup is really good for bossing, so I may just move that to my second weapon set. So speaking of that, I have 2 weapon sets, one for clearing maps and one for bossing, like pinnacle bosses specifically. So for mapping, I have Unimpeded. So I've noticed a lot of temporal chains and chills on maps now that there are basically 6 lines on a map, so those come up really often. So this really helps since this provides a 40% reduction to those slow potencies. I do take like Prism Guard as well as Tempered Defenses, which is applying that armor to elemental damage. So this is more important for mapping because of those smaller hits. When you fight a boss, like those hits are gonna be so big that the elemental like application with armor just doesn't really matter too much. So I don't take that for bossing, which I'm more just spec into damage. Also for mapping, I take Unyielding, so this gives me some additional attack speed just to like move around the map, as well as reducing some slow debuffs. Yeah, so that's mostly the differences. For bossing, I take basically increase ignite magnitudes, so you can see lasting trauma here as well as ignite magnitude. Basically anything to scale ignites, because Hammer of the Gods is going to be the main DPS. And then I'm taking Incendiary for that increased damage, as well as Smoke Inhalation, so this is just going to increase that fire damage. Something I might change is to take off perhaps Incendiary or Smoke Inhalation and take Melting Flames instead, since this can basically add another 10% increased damage. But that's something I haven't really fully experimented with yet, so that's kind of like TBD. I guess I'm also taking Heavy Boots, so this is just adding a lot of extra armor. Oh yeah, I guess I am taking Split the Earth for those aftershocks for bossing, so that might be something I switch over to Melting Flames, which is a more consistent DPS on bosses. For my gear, I'm running the same Great Hammer, or I guess 2-handed mace. Essentially what you want on this are reduced attributes, plus melee skills, increase elemental damage, and basically as much physical damage as you possibly can. So the optional line here is to increase stun buildup. If I could, I would probably replace that with additional extra fissures, but that is a desecrated mod, so those are pretty rare. For my helmet and basically shield and everything else, essentially you just want to focus on life, strength, and all the elemental resistances as much as possible. For shields, I think an additional physical damage reduction is really good. And then for your chest piece, you want increased maximum life percent, increased maximum life and flat. So this is providing a lot of extra health. And then for the sockets, you do want that increased maximum life socket. So you can see this piece by itself is giving me 800 health. For your amulet, you want +3 melee skills and as much life as possible. I did mention you did need 50 spirit, so if you can get that on the chest piece, that's good. Otherwise, you probably want to find that on an amulet. And that's probably more important than, just the +3 melee skills. So I would focus on that and getting as much HP as you can, since if you die, you're really not doing any damage. This is going to be my endgame amulet as I whittle off the last 2 lines here. So this is basically going to be my crafting piece for the league. For my rings, you want kind of like increased fire damage to attacks, and otherwise the same kind of thing like strength, resistance, life. Same thing on the other ring here. Just basically using this one for chaos resistance, to be honest. For the gloves, same thing. If you can get plus melee skill levels on this, that's also a really nice bonus. So this is something I'll definitely be upgrading soon. For the belt, just more resistances really. Life regeneration is also good. Haven't really figured out if there's a good unique belt yet, so this is definitely a piece I'll probably be filling with for the rest of the league. For boots, you just want that movement speed, life, and resistances. Eventually you're going to want to use that socket to do the additional movement speed, but those are really expensive, so this is also kind of like a evolving upgraded piece that I haven't really found out what kind of stats I exactly want on it yet, but this is kind of the rough idea for all of the gear. And then otherwise, I think I'll go over the Atlas tree. So I think the Atlas tree is very similar to the last league, where I'm focusing a lot on shrines for kind of just overall speed of clear, as well as strong boxes. A lot of my money has come from strong boxes this league. I think I hit at least 4 or 5 divines just from research strong boxes today alone. But I also invest a lot into pack size, since I do want to gain XP, but also this build is really good at clearing a lot of packs, so increasing kind of currency gain that way is also a good way to kind of scale all of that. Otherwise, sorry, excuse me, I'm a little sick, but going up here, just kind of increasing precursor effects is always very good, since those effects are also really nice to have. I think most of the pinnacle stuff is the same as last league, and I haven't really finished all of them yet, so maybe I'll go over them for the last video. But the only one I have done so far is really finish the expedition one, which I think is pretty straightforward, where you kind of want basically more drops and more logbooks, and you just do those logbooks, and I really hope I can get Oros Flask from a drop, so gonna need some luck for that one. But I think Breach is like really not great to farm this league, and I just hate Delirium. Like, Delirium is good, and I like putting Delirium oils on your map is very good. I just hate it, so I kind of just refuse to do it. I don't care if it's optimal. For Ritual is very profitable. The last one I would definitely take is Tempting Offers, so this is just something I'm working on as well. And I still need to finish the boss tree, of course, and kill Arbiter. But with that, I think I'll just go into a map example. Don't want this video to be too long. Let's see, let's choose this one. This one has a lot of mechanics in it. It is irradiated and has a boss, and it's cleansed, so hopefully get some good loot on this one. I am going to run this map. It's going to be pretty generally easy, I would say. There are some with some more damage that I could maybe experiment with. Okay, let's try this one actually. So this one's going to be a little bit harder. The Desecrated effect is basically free since we don't have mana, but there is going to be extra cold, extra fire, and elemental weakness on this one. So it's really important that I dodge the elemental weakness, but otherwise the other nodes don't really matter too much. So let's give this a shot and hope I don't die. So let's see. So as you can see, taking a decent amount of damage from these electric balls, but nothing too bad. You can see I did pop that Encasing Jade, so I do try to pop that early. And I'm just going to play a little bit safe since I can tell the damage is somewhat high with 2 of those extra damages on there. Basically means that they're going to be doing more damage than my passive health regeneration, so you do need to be a little bit careful. So you can see here, this is one of the really nice effects. So I did pop Ancestral Cry, and if I throw a Hammer of the Gods on this thing, it's just going to keep pulsing those fire waves and just do an absolute like crap ton of damage. So I'm going to pop the Jade here since I'm taking some damage from this rare mob here. And you can see I already have the Ancestral Cry again. I throw that Hammer of the Gods down, throw that Forge Hammer down, and there we go. That was most of the Abyss. Yeah, let's see. We get absolutely nothing. So, yeah, as you can see, the AoE is just spectacular, and the overall visual effects of everything is just so cool to see. So they really knocked it out of the park with the Forge Hammer. So, gonna hit the Jade here, and then let's throw down the hammer and give it a little slam. So you can see I'm war crying basically after a lot of kills, since I'll basically not only pop the Forge Hammer, but also just pop all those corpses. And essentially clear most of what's on the map as long as you've killed a few things. So sometimes you can honestly just keep spamming the war cry if there's enough things dying, and it'll just kind of kill the next. So also the Ancestral's Cry is really nice in a ritual, so I can just pop that here, and then you can kind of just see how the fire just spreads around the entire ritual. And the ritual is done. Let's do this, grab a couple of the things here, and then we'll just go for a lot of mobs. And then I'll just pop you can see the guard just pop in the top left just in case. There's a bunch of damage, but you can see I basically didn't take any damage there, so we're chilling. And you can just see the war cry, I can just keep kind of like spamming that, and it's just gonna pop everything. Grab these sun artifacts, they're actually worth a little bit of money. No crazy drops or anything, but it's still pretty solid. And I'm going to pop Ancestral Cry again here and kind of just run over all of these guys. And kind of throw this down. You can kind of see the entire map just explodes when you have Ancestral Cry on. Just so satisfying to watch. And with the cooldown so low, the fissures actually last on the floor longer, so you can have 2 layers of fissures on at the same time. And you can kind of just see how like all the fissures is completely capture all of the ritual. And you can see I'm even actually getting inflicted with the elemental weakness, and that's where you can see how the Holy Descent's coming into play. By reducing half of that, I still keep a lot more of my resistances than if they're basically all gone. So here we have a Researcher Strongbox, and I keep getting hit by them. Wow, so that's annoying. And ideally we would have an augment there, but essentially I just upgrade these until you hit both quant and rarity, and just hopefully we get a divine or a mirror. So kind of basically find the rares, throw the hammer at them, war cry. General combo really. unfortunately, not finding the super nice shrines. The tanky shrines aren't too bad though. Does make it a lot less scary. So he's just gonna bring our resistance up to 90, so we're pretty much not gonna die as long as we have this on. Pop the ancestral cry here, war cry, throw the hammer down, war cry, map explodes, throw hammer of the gods, map explodes. Yeah, super cool. Just like all the pulses is just so awesome. So let's check out, do we got anything? Let's reroll, grab that, defer this, and call it. So it's kind of like the Smith Okatawa build where kind of leap slam, but with the war cry, it actually really improves the clear just by like making everything pop. So as long as you kill a few things, everything kind of just goes pop. So miss this guy over here. So you can see with this elemental shrine, I'm like not even really trying too hard to keep the guard up because just how much less damage I can take. By having 90 all res. So let's do the boss here. So I'm gonna pop this here since it's gonna do that, and then I'll pop that, and then essentially let's get the rolling slams. So I'm gonna pop the guard, and let's get the stun here. And then we'll do the 2 war cries. Honestly, I could throw 3 war cries on there, and I think she should pretty much be wrecked from that. Did I miss? I think I might have missed. Unfortunate. I think she fell backwards a little too much. So let's actually get her in these spirits. Just see if that increases the. Oh, ow, that actually kind of hurts. So let's get her in this one. We should be able to stun her here. I think she's dead. I think that hits her, right? Okay. There we go. So you can see, like, it isn't like perfect where we're not taking any damage, but a lot of it is very manageable. So finding the build to be pretty durable overall, and barely have to worry about stuff at all. So that's pretty much it for this build video. If this has been helpful, yeah, please do leave a like and subscribe. It really would help. And I hope to see you guys in the comments. So yeah, thanks again for watching.